Okay, the February 13th, 2018 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer? Mr. Ansello? Mr. Baroth? Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? President Carbone?
Here.
Mrs. Conley? Mr. Delahanty? Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. Draw? Mr. Felder? Mr. Flagler-Mitchell? Ms. Harris? Mr. Hebert? Mr. Howland? Ms. Cayley? Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Marionetti? Mr. Michike? Mr. Morelli? Mr. Moyo? Mr. Rocco? Mr. Shepard? Ms. Taylor? Mr. Terp? Mr. Wilcox? Mr. Wilt? Mr. Zale?
Okay, please stay seated. At the request of Legislator Cayley, we will now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand as Legislator Ernest Flagler Mitchell will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I ask you to remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 43 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 43 is moved by Legislator Marionetti and seconded by Legislator Cayley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for Judge Roy King, former Rochester City Court judge?
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of former Rochester City Court Judge Roy Wheatley King. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Roy Wheatley King, former Rochester City Court Judge. And whereas Judge King passed away on January 5th, 2018 at the age of 81. And whereas Roy served in the United States Army from 1956 to 1958. He graduated from Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and in 1964 he graduated Syracuse University Law School. He was hired as Junior Assistant Corporate Counsel for the City of Rochester on August 6, 1965. Roy served as a Rochester City Court judge from 1997 to 2006. He was named to the position after practicing law privately for over 30 years, where he was considered one of the best our community had to offer. Judge King was promoted to supervising judge in 2002. And whereas Roy was an active member of the Monroe County Bar Association and the Rochester Black Bar Association, he also taught college courses through Keuka College and the College of Brockport. Later in life, Roy completed his master's degree in theological studies at the Northeastern Seminary at Roberts Wesleyan College. And whereas Judge King is survived by his devoted wife of 56 years, Lucille, 3 sons, Rashid, Rodman, and Philip, 1 daughter, Lisa, 11 grandchildren, 2 sisters, 4 sisters-in-law, and many friends. And whereas Roy will be remembered for his compassion, even temper, and calm demeanor, he was a true champion of justice. Judge King was known as a gentle giant and was very well respected throughout our community. He will be missed greatly by all who knew him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Your copy of the Journal of Day 2, January 9th, 2018 is available on your tablet. Without exception, both journals will stand as approved as submitted. There's a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic devices in your possession, I would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on your tablet as well as online. This evening there are several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would representatives from the Chi-Li Fire Department please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Tracy DeFlorio, and Legislator Steve Brew. Having the courage and sense of community to work as a firefighter is something that not all people possess. All of us here in Monroe County can be thankful for those that possess the bravery to handle such a dangerous yet heroic job. The Chi-Li Fire Department demonstrated a special kind of heroism over the holidays this year, responding to 5 different calls during the holiday week, 4 of which were fires that occurred within a 48-hour period. And whereas on Christmas morning, most of us were fortunate enough to spend time with family and friends, while members of the Chi-Li Fire Department swiftly responded to a motor vehicle accident on Chi-Li Avenue. At this call, firefighters quickly extricated the driver from the vehicle and secured the area. Tuesday afternoon marked the beginning of a 48-hour period when these firefighters demonstrated their bravery. The department responded to a fire on Ballantyne Road, where they provided medical attention to a resident who suffered injuries from a propane explosion. And whereas that same night, the department responded to another fire on Chi-Li Avenue at 7:30 p.m., and the last units did not leave the scene until after 1 in the morning. A few hours later, firefighters responded to a 12-unit apartment building where crews from 11 different fire departments provided assistance. On Thursday morning, they dispatched a full assignment in response to another fire on Ballantyne Road. And whereas the heroism shown by the Chi-Li Fire Department is admirable, we are humbled by the teamwork and valor shown by not only its members, but also by other departments who, through the Monroe County Mutual Aid Response Plan, provided support at the scene of the incidents and at Chi-Li stations where they filled in as staff. We are lucky to call these heroes our neighbors, who we can count on in times of distress. Now, therefore, we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, Tracy DeFlorio, Legislator, District 3, and Steve Brew, Legislator, District 12, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Chi-Li Fire Department for not only their service during this past holiday week, but throughout the year.
Congratulations.
Would the Wheatland Chi-Li girls soccer team please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and Legislator Steve Brew. To win a state championship is the crowning achievement for student athletes. It is the culmination of a season's worth of hard work, dedication, and excellence in execution. The athletes of the Wheatland-Chili Wildcats girls soccer team embodied all of these qualities this season when they won the New York State Championship for the second year in a row. And whereas championship teams are successful due to not only the athletes, but also the commitment and passion of a great coaching staff. Head coach Gary Ward led his team through a long season filled with many obstacles, providing guidance and encouragement to his players along the way. After 36 seasons under his leadership, he has led the Wildcats to their second consecutive state title and the third of his career. And whereas we are proud that these student athletes call Monroe County home, their successes both on the field and in the classroom are a testament to their character and willingness to hard work. The members of the Wheatland-Chili Wildcats soccer team are role models not only to other high school students, but to everyone in the community. Now, therefore, we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Steve Brew, Legislator, District 12, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Wheatland-Chili girls soccer team for winning the Class D New York State Soccer Championship.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gary Ward, and I am the very proud coach of the Wheatland-Chili Wildcats girls soccer team. On behalf of Coach Jen Quinn and our coaching staff, our entire roster, and the Wheatland-Chili school community, I would like to express our gratitude to all of the members of the Monroe County Legislature, especially the Honorable Carbone and the Honorable Steve Brew, for taking the time from your busy schedule to recognize and honor the extraordinary accomplishments of these outstanding young women. This team has won 43 of 46 games over the past 2 seasons, bringing back to Scottsville and the entire Wheatland-Chili community back-to-back New York State championships. And they did it in dramatic fashion, led by senior captains Abby Callahan, raise your hand, Hannah Callahan, and Alyssa Seilheimer. We defeated Poland Central School in this year's New York State Championship match with a golden goal during the sudden victory period, scored by junior forward Trevina Meeks in the 101st minute of play, thereby establishing the 2017 team as the most accomplished soccer team in the 40-year history of girls soccer at Wheatland-Chili. They have attained a very high standard of excellence. They have set the bar high for future teams. The reasons for their success transcend soccer. They have character. They are good kids. They have passion. They love the game. They love practice. They are joyful and funny. They play the game fairly. They are resilient in the face of adversity. They embrace challenges. They work well as a team because they support and love each other. They are willing to make sacrifices in the pursuit of team goals. They are good communicators. They hold themselves and each other accountable. Indeed, they will become leaders of their generation. They represent the best of what competitive sports have to offer. It is these qualities of successful people which are nurtured and developed through competitive athletics, which will benefit them as they meet life's future challenges. I couldn't be more proud of them, not just for the players they are, but for, more importantly, for the people they are becoming. I'm going to close with some words slightly edited from President Theodore Roosevelt, which I thought might resonate with both the members of this chamber and these young athletes. Quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the person who points out how the strong stumble or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, and who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends herself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst If she fails, at least fails by daring greatly, so that her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls that neither know victory or defeat. Again, thank all of you in the county legislature, and particularly President Carbone and Legislator Brew. Thank you very much.
Would the Rochester Rams football team please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and Legislator Ernest Flagler Mitchell. It is the sense of this legislature to honor individuals and organizations who make a positive impact on our community. And whereas, attendant to such concern and in full accord with long-standing tradition, these legislators are justly proud to honor the Rochester Rams. And whereas the Rochester Rams have been a part of the Northeast community since the 1960s and are a part of National Pop Warner Little Scholars. And whereas, while the players derived from neighborhoods strife from poverty, violence, and drugs, the Rochester Rams has been an organization that embodies safety, fitness, strong minds, and strong bodies. And whereas on December 7th, 2017, for the first time in Western New York history, the Rochester Rams football team went to the Nationals in Orlando, Florida, and won the national championship. And whereas with the support of the coaches, team parents, and Rams staff, the team raised the money to fund their trip to Orlando. Now therefore let it be known that we, Ernest Flagler Mitchell, Assistant Minority Leader, and Dr. Joe Carbone, President, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor and recognize the Rochester Rams football team this 13th day of February 2018 for their hard work, determination, and success.
So on behalf of the Rochester Rams, my name is Treylani McCoy, and I am president of Rochester Rams, which we host and entertain over 312 children in our program in the inner city. It does us proud to be here. We thank you for having us. We have some phenomenal cheerleaders and dancers, too, that are global and national champions as well. But this was a struggle for us. We only went with 16 players. You only need, how many to play? 16, and that's what we took with us. But we made it happen, and it was something that came true. A lot of dreams was fulfilled during that trip. So we thank you for having us, and we look forward to doing the same thing this year. Thank you.
Would Coach Greg Mortier please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and Legislator Lachey D. Harris. It is the sense of this legislature to honor organizations and individuals whose efforts seek to improve the lives of residents across Monroe County. And whereas attendant to such concern and in full accord with long-standing tradition, this legislature is justly proud to honor and recognize Mr. Greg Mortier for his dedication to our community and his guidance of others. And whereas the Wilson Wildcats varsity football program has been under the leadership of head coach Mortier for the past 17 years. And whereas a physical education teacher as well as a varsity coach, Mr. Mortier has emphasized to all his players the need to balance academics and athletics equally. And whereas the Wilson Wildcats football team finished the fall 2017 season with a 9-2 record and combines athletes from Rochester Early College International High School and Wilson Magnet High School. And whereas the last time the Wildcats made it to the Section 5 Class A finals was in 2006, losing to Aquinas. This year, they beat West Irondequoit with a final score of 40-19, making this the first Wilson Wildcats Section 5 Class A title in the history of the school. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Lachey D. Harris, Legislator, District 27, on behalf of the entire county legislature, do hereby honor and recognize Wilson Wildcats varsity football coach Greg Mortier for his continued dedication to students and for his shining example of leadership on this 13th day of February 2018.
I didn't know I was talking, but so it'll be quick. I just want to, on behalf of my staff and one of my captains came with us tonight, James Cotton, want to say thanks for this great honor. It's hard to do what that group of kids did this year. The last team in the RCSD to do it was in 2006, where a Marshall team won, and we actually made it to the finals the same year and lost. So it's been a while since we were able to get back. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. And I'm really proud of the staff that I got and the kids that we had this year. And again, on behalf of Wilson and Early College football, we just want to say thank you. Appreciate it.
Would Katie Henderson please come forward? Okay. Okay. Just do it next time.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing. I declare open the public hearing on local law, intro number 23 of 2018, entitled Enact a Local Law Authorizing the Sale of Surplus Property Owned by Rochester Pure Waters District, located at 2629 East Ridge Road, Town of Arundequoit, New York, to the Town of Arundequoit. There being none, I declare this public hearing closed and reconvene the February 13th, 2018 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Madam Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I'll call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your comments when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Lawrence Crawford, Lexi Popovich, and Joanne Sassa.
There is a lot of talent in this chamber, and I ask you to use it more fully, because we citizens cannot rely on the executive's office. Our personable county executive has abdicated her power to a ring of handlers. People like Bill Rylick, who, for instance, avoids meaningful long-range resolutions to our lakeshore problems, but demands short-term government handouts when his own feet get wet. Sports are important to economic and quality of life, and yet Dinolfo's inept head of economic development, Jeff Adair, allowed his comita to drive the Greater Rochester Outdoor Sports Facility into the ground, while increasing the hotel room tax by 2%. He allowed Jack Tyndall to trash our golf courses and vanished while baseball, soccer, and lacrosse faced jeopardy. Dinolfo listens to Bob Duffy, who lost his moral compass in Albany, and to Ann Kress, who tolerates a 24% graduation rate, while she, along with Vince Esposito at Finger Lakes, allow over 50% of the Finger Lakes board members to feed on corporate welfare. Even though these powerful people can break you politically, I ask you to summon your courage and innate talent to face these handlers. As a CODA, I ask you to shuttle the Office of Public Integrity and use the money for Child Protective Services. And I thank you for listening to me.
I'll be talking about Tobacco 21. Tobacco use is not a rite of passage or a sign of adulthood. It's a gateway to a lifetime of addiction. The 96% of smokers who will start a relationship with nicotine addiction before the age of 21 will be more likely to use drugs and alcohol. With the opioid epidemic in full swing, it is our duty to protect our youth from accessing tobacco products that chemically alter and prime young brains for addiction, often placing them at risk to experiment with more serious and dangerous drugs. Preventing children from accessing tobacco limits their initiation and experimentation to products that can serve as a gateway drug. Raising the sale of tobacco to 21 places legal purchasers outside the social circle of most high school students, helping to prevent 18-year-olds from distributing these products in and around schools. 280,000 New York State youth under 18 today will die prematurely from smoking. With 31,000 of our Monroe County adolescents using nicotine-containing e-cigarettes in the past 30 days, many communities are working to tackle this growing problem in which e-cigarettes provide youth with constant access to nicotine and a higher likelihood of dual using with combustible cigarettes. Protecting the health of our youth has additional cost benefits. As my grandparents own the Binfani hardware store, I am focused on upholding our small businesses. Local businesses lose approximately $3,700 each year for every employee that smokes, including workers who are 2 times less productive. Annually in New York, healthcare costs per smoker equal $4,700. Income loss per smoker, $4,800. And the total cost per smoker is $45,000 per year in New York. Residents' state and federal tax burden from smoking caused government and expenditures is roughly $1,400 per household. These cost savings in the short term and especially in the long term help bring money back to our community. Tobacco 21 is a tobacco control policy that is designed to save lives and save money. Thank you.
Hello, President Carbone, County Executive Dinolfo, and County Legislators. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And thank you, County Executive Dinolfo, for working with Sheriff Baxter on settling the deputy's contract. My name's Larry Crawford. I retired in 2004 after 26 years of service with Monroe County. Sheriff's Office. I am here in behalf of the medical benefits you have stripped from us. I would like to share a personal story with you to explain what deputies of today and those that have retired after 20, 25, and 30 years of service were willing to lay on the line and sacrifice. I've left copies due to the timeline that cut my story short. Each day they put on their uniform and they go out, serve their community in a way that a lot of you wouldn't dream of doing. They face the possibility of this happening to them and their families. There are so much that these people put on the line that many people don't even think of. Back in '93, my wife, which would also work the jail as a corporal, was injured on the job, which led to an illness for the next year and a half, which ended up taking her life. I lost Kathy, and she was only 46. The years to follow were very tough, with a 12-year-old daughter, an almost 14-year-old son, and a 25-year-old stepdaughter that lived on her own, which still have problems going on today. But people that did 20, 25, and 30 years serving today are willing to put on their uniform and go out every day and face these types of sacrifices, sometimes even worse, when you don't get the chance to say your goodbye to your loved one. They are people you are looking to take medical coverage away from. I just ask you to think of what you would expect if you had to face this type of sacrifice. Don't quit on us. We didn't quit on you. Give us what we deserve after serving our community for the 20, 25, and 30 years, and restore those medical benefits. Stand by the contract that Monroe County made with us. I also ask you to keep in mind, because that there may be other issues down the road that come in front of you. This is not a $12 to $15 an hour job. Thank you for letting me speak.
Our next three speakers are Joel Shapiro, James Youngsman, and Douglas Moffett.
Hello, my name is Joel Shapiro, and I only have 2 minutes, and I always overrun it, so I'll make it fast. A couple months ago, before the enactment of the lawsuits against the big pharma opioid makers, I tried to get in touch with the county executive and her deputy, Van Strydom, Mr. Van Strydom. And in our phone conversations, give me open arms, discuss anything you want, Joel, bring it on. But when push came to shove, or when, I had all the material ready, he never returned my call. Last meeting, I tried to make arrangements. He said he was going to maybe meet with me and talk with me. He sent me an email, says, there's nothing really I can talk about, and that's that. You have yours, I have mine, opinions, whatever. But there is, I think, a duty to hear, information, even if you have your mind made up. And I have something else, the opioid epidemic, a very, very serious issue. You have all heard about the Narcan issue. They have all these demonstrations. Well, I don't think the Narcan or the opioid is really properly put in proportion. This is fentanyl. And pretty much if you have a person that has overdosing on fentanyl and it's on their body, you're going to be okay. This is carfentanil. Now, carfentanil is really a weapon of mass destruction, and Russia in 2002, they had these Chechen rebels. They were holed up in a theater, and they took hostages, and the Russian government pumped in gas, which they found was fentanyl. 170 people out of the 830 died. So what I want to find out is, will our county executives help me put this in proportion and make it so that I can get the information about carfentanil, because it is not, the information is not separated into what kind of overdose it is. I hope I made my point. Thank you.
How we doing? Here we are again. Shame I gotta be here. Shame you gotta listen to me. Driving around today, listening to the news. Gerald and awful. New county jail contract signed, new baseball thing going, airport, got it all signed, got it all done. Not very efficiently, but you got it done, right? What good is it? What good are the papers that you're going to ratify or sign tonight or next week or whatever? They're absolutely worthless because you have a practice of not abiding by your contracts. You cut our medical health care out. All I want is one of yous. I'm easy to find. Google me. Okay? I'm really easy to find, believe me when I tell you. Contact me. Send me a PDF or tell me in person where you read that my medical was going to be removed when I turned of Medicare age. Just show me. One of you. Anybody here. You call that a human resource department? What a joke. The head of it tells us we work minimum wage. Are you kidding me? It's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. So I'll just continue to come back with the continuing saga of Monroe County, a county without ethics or morals.
Good evening. County Executive D'Onofrio, Deputy County Executive Van Strydock, and President Carbone. Good evening. And good evening to the ladies and gentlemen of the Monroe County Legislature. It gives me pleasure to address all of you this evening. It gives thanks from the Sheriff's Office Association to the County Executive. I would like to thank the County Executive, Gerald D'Onofrio, for reaching across the table with Sheriff Baxter in a bipartisan manner to talk to President Sampieri of the Monroe County Deputy Sheriff's Association and resolve a 5-year contract that has not been resolved. But it is at this time. Also, the approval of a contract by the Monroe County firefighters at the Monroe County International Airport. And of course, a place that holds much history and millions of childhood memories for most of us, our beloved Rochester Red Wings, and the contract that was signed yesterday. Now I would like to address every member of this distinguished body and legislature. In this chamber, on many occasions, this legislative body has recognized members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office for performing an act of the highest standards and tradition of the Office of Sheriff of Monroe County. These men and women did these selfless acts to protect their community and to uphold the standards that you demand of them. Last week, we had 6 law enforcement officers gunned down. Today, we had an off-duty commander in Chicago, Illinois, murdered, chasing a suspect while he was off duty. When is it going to stop? Monroe County has 13 heroes. They died in the line of duty for all of us in this room and every citizen of this county. All I'm asking is that the county executive reach across that table again in a bipartisan manner. Try and uphold us as in the same manner and respect that you expect us to do. Please meet with the SOAR Medical Benefit Committee and correct this situation. Thank you for this opportunity tonight, and God bless.
Our last speakers are Bridget Hurley and Jenny Lumberg.
Hello. Hi, Jen. How are you? I haven't seen her in years. Anyways, I am here tonight with some good news. Happy to say. You might, but maybe didn't hear, that in the federal budget agreement that was negotiated last week, there were quite a few good agreements made on behalf of children. So, fortunately, the funding for Monroe County's Nurse Family Partnership Program that comes from the federal government finally passed. That act was due to be reauthorized last October, and we've been waiting and waiting, and really we're thrilled to see that program was reauthorized, so the money will be coming to New York City for Nurse Family Partnership, to New York City, to Rochester for Nurse Family Partnership. So that's good news. There also was a terrific amount of funding for childcare, and like you all, I'm always looking for money for Monroe County for childcare. There was $5.8 billion added to the Child Care Development Block Grant through that budget agreement. And that looks like it will serve over 17,000 more children and families in New York State, which is terrific. I'm also here to ask for your help because that money needs to be appropriated. So we will need to be doing some advocacy to track that and make sure that it indeed passes and that it comes to New York State and to Monroe County. So that's one request. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was the state budget. There are also opportunities in the state budget for children in Monroe County, and so would love your help with those as well, if you have any way to help us with our advocacy. The Medicaid director has initiated something called the First 1,000 Days of Medicaid. That is not new money, it's redirected Medicaid money that will fund programs targeted to early childhood. And we would like Rochester and Monroe County to be a pilot for several of those programs. They're looking for communities in New York State to pilot some of these early childhood programs that will be either new or expansion of existing programs, and we want them here in Monroe County. So again, good news, but a little bit of work to do to make sure that we get what we could really use here locally. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Lundberg, and I'm the current president of Monroe County Farm Bureau. Each of you takes a seat in this room because your community believes in you. They trust you will identify and stabilize weaknesses. You will promote positive changes in your community. You will do this with a little help from your friends. We at Monroe County Farm Bureau strive to foster strong relationships with other organizations in our community. We consider these organizations friends of Monroe County Farm Bureau. A friend can be trusted and counted on to help you when you are in need. They pursue shared endeavors. Let me quickly introduce you to a few of our friends. Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District Executive Director Kelly Emmerich, her staff and board of directors. Together, they educate our farmers and neighbors while encouraging sustainable agricultural practices and grant-funded opportunities to ensure our environment is preserved and protected. Cornell Cooperative Extension of Monroe County and their Executive Director, Andrea Lista, as well as her staff and Board of Directors who support, through the regional ag teams, Ag in the Classroom and Ag Literacy Week. Monroe Community College, Dr. Robert King, who in his role as Senior Specialist encourages individuals to explore agricultural careers. Monroe County Parks Department Director Larry Staub and his support of the Monroe County Farm Bureau's Celebrate Ag Dinner. We ask that you continue to support our friends in their quest to educate our community on the importance of keeping agriculture local. Monroe County Farm Bureau strives to educate current and future consumers and promote local ag. Together, with help from our friends, we support ag in Monroe County. Can you tell me how you support Monroe County agriculture? Have you visited a Monroe County farm in the last year? Any of you? Raise your hands. It's interactive. Okay, good. Did you cut down a local Christmas tree? Did you bite into a locally grown apple? Come on, tonight, some of you did, I know it. Have you visited and purchased locally grown foods from a farmer's market? Yes, all right. So, many of you say yes, you have, but we want to ensure you have more opportunities to participate in Monroe County agriculture. So we invite you this year to join us at our Celebrate Agriculture event on Sunday, August 12th. It's at Durand Park. The food is fresh, local, and delicious. You'll break bread with farmers who have contributed to the dinner and believe in the future of Monroe County ag. In addition, we're going to sponsor a farm tour, which I hope many of you can attend. We'll be sending out information in the next few months, so I look forward to your response. Thank you for having us here tonight, and if you have any questions at any time, Monroe County Farm Bureau is always here as a resource. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, I think we're going to do that last proclamation a little out of order, out of respect for Legislator Flagler Mitchell. Right, Flagler?
Would Katie Henderson please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Ernest Flagler Mitchell, and Legislator Vincent Felder. It is the sense of this legislature to honor individuals whose efforts seek to improve the lives of others across Monroe County. And whereas attendant to such concern and in full accord with long-standing tradition, this legislature is justly proud to honor Katie Henderson for being awarded the title of Miss Black New York, USA 2018. And whereas this prestigious title is a testament to Katie's hard work, serving as a voice for the less fortunate and disenfranchised. As Miss Black New York, USA, Katie educates, inspires, and encourages young black girls to perfect their voice. Her reign readdresses mental health awareness and closing the education gap for women of color. And whereas, as an alumnus of the Fashion Institute of Technology, Katie has a diverse portfolio in fashion and tech styling, business, entrepreneurship, innovation, and e-commerce. Katie has wardrobe-styled notable clients for Vogue, Vogue Italia, Elle, Cosmopolitan, and Harper's Bazaar magazines. And whereas Katie's achievements exemplify the result of perseverance and her kindness and compassion to others by leading an annual toy drive for families who lost a parent to violence. Katie also teaches coding and entrepreneurship to girls ages 14 to 24. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Vincent Felder, Legislator, Ernest Flagler Mitchell, Assistant Minority Leader, and Dr. Joe Carbone, President, on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize Katie Henderson for her many accomplishments, leading her to receive this esteemed award on this 13th day of February, 2018.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for honoring me this evening. I would like to, thank Vince and Ernest himself, in addition to all of you wonderful, respectable people in your places. It's been such an honor, to reign as Miss Black New York and to serve as a gap for the the misunfortunate and disfranchised. So again, it's been such an honor to serve and reign as your Miss Black New York USA and to close that gap between, education and poverty. So thank you again.
At this time, we'll recess the February 13th, 2018 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature and convene the Pure Waters Administrative Board for the Rochester Pure Waters District.
PWAB Agenda Item Number 1, Referral 18-0022.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries.
PWAB Agenda Item Number 2, Referral 18-0024.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item. We will now recess the Rochester Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The February 13th, 2018 meeting of the Legislature is reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, Referral 18-0004.LL.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to lift. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, Referral 18-0004.LL.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We will now proceed to the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 3, Referral 18-0013.
Moved by Legislator Taylor, seconded by Legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I rise to make an amendment.
Is there a second? Amendment made by Legislator Baroff, seconded by Legislator Cayley. Any discussion?
Do you wish me to wait for a moment? Okay, I'll go for it. Excellent. So I rise to make an amendment to this referral, which is the designation of an official newspaper. And for those of you who've been here for the past 7 years, you know that this is something that it's become a bit of a tradition. I think it's an unfortunate tradition that I need to do this for 7 years, and hopefully in the next couple of years it will get done. But we'll persevere. So I point out in the referral to you, there's a line in the second paragraph that reads, designating the Daily Record and the Rochester Business Journal will allow the county to, quote, maintain the broadest possible readership as well as to most efficiently use our financial resources. And it turns out that those two statements are in contradiction to each other. Okay. If you're going to maintain the broadest possible readership, that's one thing. And if you're going to focus on most efficiently using our financial resources, that might be another thing. And we've discussed in past referrals and past amendments that these are two considerations, and I understand that. This referral, however, does not contradict the desire to maintain the efficient use of our financial resources. If everyone has received the referral by now, you'll note that it adds on essentially one additional newspaper. Okay? And the statute reads that we have to provide our information to 1 or 2 official newspapers, not 3. So if we have 3 newspapers that are official, we get to choose which those 3 would be. And the administration has agreed that, in fact, this is the case last year. Okay? Nothing's changed since then. So my referral does not have a component that has anything to do with finances, anything to do with additional finances being needed, because it's totally the discretion of the administration. All this does is provide an opportunity, if the administration desires, to expand the readership for a matter of public notice. If it decides not to do so, it does not have to do so. It does not require it to do so. If it wishes to, it has this ability to actually save some funds. If it wanted to have a broader readership and not have it go to all 3, it could perhaps reduce another one, perhaps take out the Daily Record as being a place of an announcement. That would be at the administration's discretion as well. We have to consider circulation, not just cost. There's a proportion, as we learned in the past committee cycle, between how much we pay per line and how much the readership is. The higher the readership, the higher the pay per line. That's natural. This referral allows us to take advantage of that if we desire to do so. Finally, since I was allowed to speak to this amendment, I'm very pleased by that. Finally, I'd like to point out that perhaps we should consider some other options, some online options perhaps. Perhaps the administration could provide some research along those lines, look into that. I'm not saying it needs to, not at this moment in time, of course, but in the meantime, before we look at these other options, these online components perhaps, I would suggest and urge you strongly to consider voting in favor of this amendment to allow us an additional opportunity for the administration to save money. Now, in past years, I've gone passionate, and I've smiled, and I've made little jokes here and there, because, I don't think it was a surprise to many. Who here expected me to make this amendment at some point in time today? Did anyone expect me? A few hands, little nods? Yes. Okay, so, there's an education process going on here, okay, and that's important. So I hope we don't have to do this next year, but I urge you, if you can't vote for this, provide a rationale why you have to vote against it, because there's no fiscal cost. It just gives the administration an additional tool. So I'd ask that. If you decide to vote against this, please explain your vote. I'd appreciate that. And if you can't explain your vote, then you might want to consider, why can't I publicly explain my vote? What's going on here if I can't explain that? Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I think we'll go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Marinetti? No. Ms. Cayley? Yes. Mr. Elkoffer? No. Mr. Ansello? No. Mr. Baroth? Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? No. Mrs. Conley? No. Mr. Delahanty? No. Mrs. DeFlorio? No. Mrs. Draw? Mr. Felder? Yes. Mr. Flagler Mitchell? Yes. Ms. Harris? Yes. Mr. Hebert? No. Mr. Howland? No. Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. Mafucci? Yes. Mr. Michike? Mr. Morelli? Yes. Mr. Moyo? Yes. Mr. Rocco? No. Mr. Shepard? Yes. Ms. Taylor? No. Mr. Terp? No. Mr. Wilcox? Yes. Mr. Wilt? Mr. Zale? No. President Carbone?
No.
11 to 17, amendment fails.
Okay, back to the original main motion. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Carries.
Item number 4, referral 18-0014.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Zale. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 18-0015.
Moved by Legislator Zale, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 18-0016.
Moved by Legislator Zale, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 18-0017.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Wilt. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 18-0018.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 18-0019.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 10, referral 18-0020.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 18-0021.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 12, referral 18-0021.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 18-0021.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 14, referral 18-0023.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 18-0023.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 16, referral 18-0023.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 17, referral 18-0025.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 18, referral 18-0026.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, did the Monroe County Airport Authority approve this contract at its rescheduled meeting on January 24th? Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 19, referral 18-0027.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 20, referral 18-0027.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to table. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 21, referral 18-0027.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Item carries. Next item.
Item number 22, referral 18-0028.
Moved by legislator Connolly, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 23, referral 18-0029.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 24, referral 18-0030.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 25, referral 18-0031.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Roll call vote? Well, let's go to a roll call vote.
Okay, so referral 18-0031. Mr. Marinetti? Yes. Ms. Cayley? Yes. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Mr. Ansello? Yes. Mr. Baroth? Yes. Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mrs. Conley? Yes. Mr. Delahanty? Yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. Draw? Yes. Mr. Felder? Mr. Flagler Mitchell? Yes. Ms. Harris? Mr. Hebert? Yes. Mr. Howland? Yes. Mr. Lightfoot? No. Mr. Mafucci? Yes. Mr. Michikay? Yes. Mr. Morelli? Mr. Moyo? Yes. Mr. Rocco? Yes. Mr. Shepard? Yes. Ms. Taylor? Yes. Mr. Terp? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? Yes. Mr. Wilt? Yes. Mr. Zale? Yes. President Carbone?
Yes.
26-1. Resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 26, referral 18-0032.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 27, referral 18-0037.
Moved by legislator Howland, second by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 28, referral 18-0034.
Moved by legislator Howland, second by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 29, referral 18-0035.
Moved by legislator Howland, second by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 30, referral 18-0036.
Moved by legislator Howland, second by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 31, referral 18-0037.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 18-0038.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 33, referral 18-0039.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Broth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, did the environmental review that was supposed to be completed prior to action occur? And if so, what was the result of that review?
Through the President, yes, it has been completed and there were no adverse impacts.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 34, referral 18-0040.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 35, referral 18-0041.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a brief question or two. This, through you to the administration, Mr. President, this contract is for 2018 with 2 one-year extensions. Is it anticipated that this type of contract is going to be extended for those extensions?
Through you, Mr. President, it's too early to tell. That's the whole purpose of this. It's a dynamic environment. We'll have to wait and see what it's like in 3 years from now.
So then if I understand you correctly through the President, you do anticipate it's going to take 3 years?
No. Every year we will look at it. My apologies. I thought you were talking about after that.
No.
No. For every year we're going to have to relook at what projects we have on the plate, potentially what our head count is if we have people, positions not filled, there's many, many variables, so I cannot possibly anticipate right now what that answer would be.
Thank you. And then through the President, will any of this IT assistance affect the services that we offer to the village of Webster? Sorry, if town or village, one or the other.
Through you, Mr. President, not at all.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 36, referral 18-0042.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 37, referral 18-0043.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Through you to the administration, a similar question. Did the Monroe County Planning Board approve this on January 25th?
Through the President, Bob Burns, Department of Public Safety, yes, it did.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 18-0043BR.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 39, referral 18-0044.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Michiki. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 40, referral 18-0045.
Moved by legislator Elkoffer, seconded by legislator Zale. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 41, referral 18-0047.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 42, referral 18-0048.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Mafucci.
Thank you. I want to make sure I do this right. So this is my first big question here. Through you, Mr. President, to the administration, is there a way to monetize this benefit? As a school superintendent, we really didn't hire lobby firms. We did the lobbying on our own, so I'm wondering why we would expend $60,000. Have we gotten great benefit?
Through you, Mr. President, I think the shortest way of explaining this, and we had some conversations with members of both caucuses with regards to this, is that this is a more cost-effective way to have an individual in the state capitol where we conduct a significant amount of business with regards to grants, referrals, local laws that require us to, and home rule laws, require us to have somebody on the ground in order to help us execute, in addition to make arrangements for us to sit down and discuss matters at the Capitol during the budget, and then in the meetings that occur subsequent to the budget. And this is far more cost-effective than having a county staff position created that would be performing that function. So this is one of the cost benefits, is the way that we look at it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 44, referral 18-0050.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Just a quick question, and that is, why is this brought to us as a matter of urgency? What's the timeline? Through the President.
Through you, Mr. President, this is being brought to you as a matter of urgency at the request of the county executive. I think that it is the administration and the union's desire to see this contract go into effect as soon as possible.
Thank you. And through the President to the administration, just to save time, will that hold true for the next item as well?
Through the President, yes, that would be the same.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Flagler Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. President. To you, to the administration. I just want to know if the health care that we negotiated with the airport firefighters are the same, or is it better? Did they lose anything, or did they gain? Through you to the administration.
Through you, Mr. President, as part of the process of negotiations, the union agreed to health care concessions. The new health plan has higher pharmaceutical copays. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 45, referral 18-0051.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 46, referral 18-0052.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Cayley.
Just one quick question through the president to the administration. What's a qualified property owner in this case?
Through the president, Dr. Mendoza, Health Department, qualified property owners and property owner who requests services to mitigate lead toxins in their home.
Thank you. I guess I don't understand, Mr. President, through you. I don't understand. There's a qualification here. It speaks to me as if it's economic, but I'm not sure. Are you saying that anyone within the county of Monroe could ask for lead mitigation and be qualified to access these funds?
Through the president, yes. Anybody can ask and you shall receive.
Thank you. And then one more. Is this through the president to the administration, is this grant program through the county also include the city, or is it just the suburban areas?
Through the president, this is the entire county.
Thank you.
Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'll start. Why is this being brought to us as a matter of urgency through the president?
Through the president, as you know, we received a one-year extension on this grant last November, and so we need to complete all of the work by the end of this November. HUD changed the rules on us. We used to directly reimburse property owners, but now we needed to contract out for vendors so that we can reimburse the vendors. We received the list of approved vendors about 2 weeks ago, and so we want to get the work done as much as possible before November 30th.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Through the President of the Administration, as a follow-up to my colleague's question, you indicated that if anybody asks for this remediation, that you ask you shall receive. I find that very difficult to believe. It seems to me there must be some sort of income requirement to qualify for this grant, and if not, you must have a line out the door. So, through the chair, to the President, to the Administration, can you clarify what you meant by who can actually qualify for these grant funding?
Through the President, can you repeat the question, please?
Well, through the President to the Administration, the question is, the referral states that this is for low-income property owners with children, and so it seems to me there must be some sort of financial qualification to receive funding through this. My question is that not the case? And if it is, then what is exactly the cutoff point for the financial need to the President?
To the President, to my knowledge, there is no income requirement. It says here, staff will review applications and determine qualifications for the program.
On the referral we received, Mr. President, I'll point out that it does indicate there's an income requirement. If you look at the referral itself, it states it there. Well, that's that, yeah. If it's helpful, I could read it.
Go ahead.
Okay. The referral that we have before us, 180052, states at the end of the second paragraph, property owners of housing in Monroe County for the remediation of approximately 54 housing units occupied or to be occupied by low or very low income tenants with young children. Oh, I think I see what the problem is. So I think I think I see the concern here. So we could have anyone who owns a property who, this is not for owners or occupants, it's actually for landlords, I believe. Is that correct, to the President?
Through the President, Corinda Crosdale, Commissioner, Department of Human Services. It's referring to the tenant, not the property owner. So the tenant who lives in the property is low income with children under the age of 6.
Okay. Then through the chair, through the President's administration, am I correct to assume then that the remediation work is for interior work, or is it for both interior and exterior work?
Through the President, it's for all mitigation of lead hazards, so interior and exterior.
Okay. So through the President to the administration, then this grant only applies to rental properties, correct?
Rental. So to the best of our knowledge, these are mostly tenant-occupied units.
Yes, but if I'm correct in understanding, you stated that through the President, the person actually applying is not the tenant. The person applying is the property owner, correct?
Correct.
Right. So the property owner can have any sort of background, whatever, in terms of their finances. It's the tenants who we're concerned about, correct?
Correct.
So through the President's administration, is this only for units or buildings occupied by tenants only, or does it include the possibility of owner-occupants in a multi-unit setting through the President?
It would include both, Mr. President.
Then I would find that to be kind of problematic through the President, because we're talking now about individuals who might be extremely well-to-do, who could afford to do this on their own, but choose not to and take advantage of us just because they have, they can. So through the President to the administration, my question is does your vetting process look into the difference between an owner who's actually owner-occupied with the tenancy or not? Is that a consideration or is not a consideration through the President? Yeah. Right.
Through the President, typically we use a federal poverty level as a measure of low income, and it's the tenant. So even if it's owner occupied, the tenant would still have to be low income. So the owner would also have to be low income, meeting those federal poverty limits.
So to clarify through the President, in that case, what you're telling me then is for property to qualify for this, all the tenants of receiving that service, so if there's 3 units, all 3 units must be occupied by those who meet the financial standards, correct, through the President?
Of low income.
Of low income, yes.
Correct.
Thank you. And then finally, you mentioned in the referral that this is to serve approximately, I believe the number was 55 units. Is this an extension of a prior contract? Are those 55 units already in line, or we will make an announcement and then they come to the door? Do we have a backlog waiting for us through the President?
Through the President, we already have a list of
over 55?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Kaley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to rise to say we asked a lot of questions, but I myself am very familiar with the program, and I'm glad to see that it's going forward. 54 units is 54 units, and that can affect a lot of lives with lead abatement. So I just want to say that I'm in favor of this, but the wording of the referral itself is a little bit confusing when we're talking about pre-qualified owners and forward. So I just want to say this is a great program. I'm looking forward to it moving forward, and I know people that are probably waiting in line personally to get an application in. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 47, referral 18-0053.
Moved by Legislator Zale, seconded by Legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, I just want to ask, why is this being brought to us as a matter of urgency?
I can answer that question. These appointments are filling vacancies on the board or renewing expired terms. The county has worked diligently with the city of Rochester to make the board whole to be prepared to fill the position of 911 director.
So through the President, or through the President as most suitable, why was this not done during the regular committee process?
That's a good question for the administration.
That tell us?
It wasn't supposed to be that funny. Right?
Through the president, we had planned on getting these reappointments done soon, but the fact that we need to fill this 911 director position and this board needs to approve that appointment, and we only recently received recommendations to fill a couple of the city appointments as well. So once we receive those recommendations, we put this forward.
Okay. Well, just as a note to the President, to the Administration, I have nothing against matters of urgency. I recognize their need. It's just but I think we should only use them, when necessary, when it truly is urgent. I'm not saying it isn't, but it sometimes seems that we use this path very liberally.
Through the President, if I may, it's not just a matter of appointing this board, and we received the input and the names of the individuals that the city wanted appointed on Monday, but there is an intent to call this board to meet in order to perform a specific function with regards to approving the job description for the director of the 911 center, which is required under the agreement between the county and the city of Rochester. Since the city has accepted the resignation of the previous 911 director, they are eager to move forward and get the position filled as soon as possible, but this step was necessary in order to help expedite their effort in filling the position in a timely manner. It's coming before you today as a matter of urgency.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that explanation. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 48, referral 18-0088.
Moved by Legislator Marianetti, seconded by Legislator Conley. And as a matter of discussion, I'd like to note that this local law was determined by the county executive to be a matter of necessity in order to ensure time to file the local law with New York State law, with New York State, so that the lease is in place well in advance of the upcoming season and the International League's requirement of March 1st. The county executive has requested that this honorable body address it as such tonight. Pursuant to Section A45B of the Monroe County Administrative Code, it will require an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the total voting power of the legislature in order to pass. Now, is there any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, as a diehard baseball fan, I was happy that with a lot of urging from public opinion as well as members of the Democratic caucus that the county executive was able to finalize a lease agreement with Rochester Community Baseball. I think on behalf of everyone in this community, they're certainly happy that the Red Wings have decided to stay in Rochester, and that, in fact, the county was ready to play ball. Mr. President, I would also note that when I submitted a referral last Friday requesting a report from the county executive as to where we stood with the $1.5 million in state funding.
Legislator Morelli, I think this referral pertains to the lease, not the funding.
Mr. President, I'm just, the $1.5 million is
discussion pertains to the lease.
Mr. President, the $1.5 million is in this lease, so in that matter, it is, it can be discussed. So, Mr. President, I was glad that when I brought it up on Friday, turns out you, Mr. President, had asked the county for that information on Thursday, coincidentally enough. Mr. President, I would suggest that in the future, perhaps you share that with this side of the aisle as well when you get that type of information. So with that, Mr. President, I do have, Mr. President, I don't think
it's relevant to the lease either.
Mr. President, I have a couple questions in regards to the lease, so through you to the administration. Has a full report of what major projects need to be completed at Frontier Field been produced?
Through the President, the lease includes a reference to engineering reports. There's county engineering reports and Rochester community engineering reports. Those both have recommendations for different projects, but there's nothing specified as needed.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. President, is it possible for those reports to be submitted to the legislature so that we can see those reports?
Through the President, sure.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. President, has Rochester Community Baseball discussed with the county what projects that they feel are most necessary in terms of capital improvement projects that need to be done at Frontier Field?
Through the President, we cannot discuss the details of the negotiations without going into executive session, but I can tell you that the projects are identified in those reports, and the lease provides that the parties will work together to make meaningful progress on projects identified in the reports. No specific projects, just the projects.
Okay, thank you very much. Through you, Mr. President, I have a question in regards to some of the revenue sharing that I see in the lease. Can you, through you, Mr. President, could you describe what pieces of the revenue sharing are different in this lease than were in previous leases with Rochester Community Baseball?
Through the President, there's a lot of detail on that. I can tell you generally that the revenue on the county side in 2016 was about $1.2 million, and for 2018 it will now be projected to be about $1 million, so more revenue is going to the Red Wings. It's largely associated with the executive suites revenue. The county got it before. On the other side of the ledger, the expense revenue has gone down substantially for the county. The Red Wings have taken over some of the expenses such as utilities, maintenance. The county is losing a lot of expenses in connection with the dissolution of the LDC. There was insurance, some professional fees. Altogether, that net difference ends up being estimated at about $400,000. Better to the county.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. President, I see that parking in regards to the MCC, Kodak, and Carestream parking lot will be maintained by Monroe County. The revenue will come to Monroe County. Will Monroe County be outsourcing that work, or will Monroe County be providing that work?
Through the President, the operation of the parking is by MCC.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, to explain my vote, I will be voting in the affirmative because, Mr. President, we should be doing everything we possibly can to keep the Red Wings here in Rochester, and just like we should continue to enhance a lot of the great things that make Rochester great. I said it in my comments on Friday, things like the Seneca Park Zoo, the Strong Museum of Play. These are all things that make Rochester Rochester. So I will be voting in the affirmative tonight, and I'm happy to see that the Red Wings will continue to be here in Rochester. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I agree with you very much, and I think we owe our county executive and the administration a big thank you. Any further discussion? Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just rise briefly because I, too, would just like to thank the county executive, the county law department, and administration as a whole. I think people know it was not an easy task. We all love the Red Wings. We all are thrilled to see the Red Wings stay for years to come. That was the goal, but people know that you also needed to keep the taxpayers as a whole in mind, and I would like to thank that and diligently working towards this resolution. Thank you.
Legislator Baroth. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple questions for the administration I'd like to ask through you. The first is, through you to the administration, could you please describe the process by which the naming rights are handled, or the funds received from that, and what sort of funds are we receiving from the naming rights? Because the lease is very unclear on this to me.
Through the President, pursuant to an agreement that was reached in 2015 and runs for 10 years, the county receives $275,000 per year.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm sorry, through the President to the Administration, the agreement you're referring to in 2015, is there a name or a title to that agreement?
Frontier Naming Rights Agreement.
That's a good, very descriptive name. Okay. I will not quibble that. So so it's fair to say through the President to the Administration that 275 from the naming rights was going to be a constant from now to then, no matter what the lease was, correct? If it's a separate agreement.
Through the President, right, that's not tied to the lease. That was an agreement between the county and Frontier Communications.
Okay. And so when we talk about the naming rights in the lease, actually it's just that we couldn't have changed it through the lease process regardless, correct, through the President?
Through the President, we couldn't change that agreement.
Correct. Okay. And finally, just to explain my vote, I'm, of course, voting in favor of this lease. I was getting a little nervous as time went by. I had faith, but I was still getting a little nervous nonetheless because we like going to the games as well. But I feel obliged to point out a typo. And no, but it's a significant one. Did you see it already? Yeah, it's the address. We actually reside at 39 West Main Street and not 38. So I'll just suggest we change that in case someone comes back and challenges the lease.
Good pick, Legislator Barat. Thank you.
Through the President, we're going to start reporting to work across the street once this lease is signed.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. We stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Tuesday, March 13th, 2018.